Welcome to the DJNTV Chill Room Chat, your space to unwind and talk shop. This episode is sponsored by MadeByDJs.com, innovative tools designed specifically by DJs for DJs. DJEventPlanner.com, the industry standard for streamlining your business and booking faster. And DJRequests.com, the easiest way to manage your dance floor's vibe in real time. Support the show by using our Amazon affiliate link at DJNTV.com/Amazon. Now, let's get into the mix.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening and welcome. Welcome. It is Monday night and life is good again.
Oh, just a second. I got to call Cubby and see if he's coming. Yeah. Cubby, yeah, we're live now. Are you coming in? What? No, Dan said you couldn't wear your tutu tonight. I know that was something you really wanted to wear. I'll talk to him. We'll see. Maybe next week. Maybe next week. Danny's not coming on the show with us tonight.
Listen, if it was the tutu or no show.
No show.
Nobody wants to see him in the tutu again.
No.
Once was enough.
Yeah, it was an educational experience. That's it.
It was.
It
was.
Oh, so
but I missed you guys last week.
Yeah.
I got back and I was like, first off, I had kind of forgotten for sure. And also I was like, oh, wait a minute. They're on.
Yeah.
And so I messaged, but you didn't get it. So
no, I
did
not. I did not. We were so bad.
It's okay.
So bad.
I was able to watch from the comfort of my couch, just like hopefully some people are doing right now. Like Day's joining us.
Yeah.
So hi, Day.
Yeah, you got a few folks who are joining us. Excellent. Thank you guys for being with us tonight. So Dan, I want to jump into our topic tonight because as I was kind of looking for topics today, one of the topics that was suggested to us was talking about the struggles that couples have when it comes to planning, and that the study that they were referring to is basically that many couples have got this ghosting, that many of the time they're ghosting the vendors because of a paralysis, and we'll dig into that just a little bit. But I think that speaking as someone who's done a few, and I've been working with some couples recently that we've had to do more than just a typical DJ show, that show up and play. There's many of these kind of ideas. You can see this in that. So I think we've got some interesting areas to go with tonight's show. So the premise kind of is that many of the times when we have people inquire, they'll ask for information. They may text, they may call, they may do whatever, and we don't hear from them again. And we're thinking to ourselves that oh my gosh, they must have gone with someone else. There must be somebody cheaper. Kind of a common thing. The study was basically saying that many of these people aren't going with anybody basically because they become indecisive. I mean, is that a real thing? Do you think?
I think so. I don't want to. I'm going to call poo-poo on a little bit on the study because I don't think they're not going with anybody. But I think what ends up happening is they get this paralysis, and then it's like, I can't make any decision. So then they wait, and eventually they have to pick somebody, right? Like it has to be somebody that they decide to go with. And I have a feeling at that point, sometimes it becomes throwing a dart at a board.
So
to try and pick.
Do you think this is the time when, okay, I call a photographer and the photographer's saying, oh, we can do all these different things. And I've got this worksheet that we can go through and do. And then I call the caterer and the caterer is like, oh, I've got this, we can go find all the food and do all the sampling. And I got this worksheet and we can go do all these things. And then I've got the videographer and they get this same type of story from place to place. And they get to the entertainment side of it. And it basically becomes is that, the professional DJ, it's going to take, there's an investment of time and there's an investment of process. But if I just go with my friend over here who isn't a professional DJ, I just want to party. Can you play party music for me? You can? Oh, great. I'm going to go with you. Do you think that's feeding into this growth of people having friends, doing no real DJ experience with friends doing friends' weddings?
I don't think just friends, but also just those that kind of just go, I'm not going to make this complicated.
Mm.
Here's what it is. It's me. You don't have to make any decisions because this is the only decision you make. Me, right? Like you don't have to. When they're calling all these places and going, well, we've got XYZ different packages and different options and different things that you need to decide. If I eliminate all that, suddenly now it's not, now they don't have to worry about a paralysis type of situation for that. It's just like, oh, I'm just going to pick them. So whether that's a friend that's able to do it out of nowhere, or whether that is oftentimes the just show up and press play DJ is because they're new, they don't recognize the things that need to happen. That becomes an easy choice for them.
You use the word needs to happen. They don't recognize the things that need to happen. And I've kind of struggled with this one just a little bit because you and I have been, since we've done this for so long, can see all of the different opportunities to have an event that goes to another level because of the little details. And yet, are we sometimes being a stick in the mud to a point where we know these things are important and we're going to look for that information or to try to gather enough information to make sure those moments are successful? And that need to happen was really us wanting that information to happen, or to have that so we can make those moments happen. But in reality, they didn't need to happen. We just wanted them because we know that the ultimate outcome could be so much more. And yet people just, either they don't care or maybe it's not worth it to them. I don't know.
Fair. And I say that in a couple different pieces. So I think of like this past weekend, I was at the venue I was at. I was talking with the venue owner, and we were just talking about some different things. And of course, when you get along really well with like the owner, sometimes you hear the other horror
Yep,
stories. And I
for
was
sure.
very quickly to hear some of the horror stories. Now she wouldn't share any names, but it didn't take long for me to kind of figure out who she was talking about just by the way she described him. But with that being said, like, you know, there are things I think that need to happen in order for an event to be successful. You're right. I don't think it needs to happen. In other words, like if it doesn't happen, they can't have a DJ. They can't have someone who's going to show up and play great dance music. I think it might be a little bit more trial and error. I think it might create a little bit more of a process to be able to find what's going to work. But where I think the big difference lies, though, is not in getting that information, but sometimes feeling that you need to have that information before you ever book the couple, before you ever agree to work with the couple on their wedding. Like, I mean, I know I need to have a better sales process,
Mm-hmm.
despite the fact that somebody called me a sales expert earlier.
Mm.
um
I wonder.
I feel like I definitely need to have a better sales process in some aspects. But then when I look at some people who share their sales process, and I'm like how are you closing like all this, because that's a lot of information, and I'm not even your couple and I'm overwhelmed by
Mm-hmm.
it. Like, I can't understand. And I think that's where a lot of couples will get into that process is, if you're asking 30,000 questions before you ever get to have a real conversation with them, they're overwhelmed. I remember kind of the same point, like Alan Berg used to talk about forms on your website,
Yeah.
right? Like, and the more questions you ask on the form, the less likely a couple's going to fill it out. It just comes down to it's too much. They don't want to waste the time, whatever might be the case. I think the same kind of thing comes into play when we're asking them to make these decisions about their wedding that either A, they don't even know at this point because it's so far in advance, or it doesn't really matter to them. It's not important to them yet.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of taking away some of that obstacle or some of that barrier in that initial phase of wanting to work together will help that conversation go further faster.
And I could definitely see, in essence, you're making the argument for making it easier to buy, and that fits in. But then on the other side of it is the times where DJs are like, oh, if I would have just known that they were going to be this type of couple, or if I would have known that they were going to want that type of music at their wedding, I didn't ask the right questions. If I'd have known that there were stairs, whatever if I would have known is. And I think that might be why so many of us ask way too many questions in the pre-booking phase, because we feel like we're trying to weed out. And I don't know if is there a happy medium in there?
I think there is. I think there is. It's a very delicate line that can be walked, and we also got to recognize, right, that we're talking about generalization here,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where some couples are going to want you to be overly detailed because they're going to want to make sure that you ask those questions that are important to them, and then there's going to be others that are going to be like, no, like 2 questions is all you get. Anything more than that, forget it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not wanting to talk to you. But I think there is the fine line that can be walked there. But at what point are you asking all of those questions, right? Most of us, I think what we, and maybe this is a generalization I shouldn't be making, but I think most of us that are getting ghosted are doing so before we ever get to the meeting,
Sure.
before we ever get to have an opportunity to have that discussion with the couple. That's when they're ghosting us. Yes, there's going to be some that maybe ghost us after we've had that conversation, but that seems to be a little bit few and far between in comparison. So the questions that, maybe are those things that you need to know before you sign on the dotted line for both parties can wait for that meeting. Like, how much do you really need to know about them before you decide to have a sit down of some sort with them?
Mm-hmm.
That's where that line needs to walk, and where you need to focus on holding back, because you're right. You want to interview them as much as they want to interview you, because you want to avoid those problems. But at what point do you need to have that information?
I when I'm thinking about the idea of us selling weddings and selling those types of services, and I granted this isn't a service, but I like to kind of review, reflect back to the times of going and buying a new car, because there's many similarities with it being a big purchase, big ticket item. Obviously, a car is bigger than that, but a DJ wedding is a once in a lifetime thing, so they kind of equal out. And the idea of there are people who are very comfortable making a car decision without spending a lot of time with the dealer and the salesperson. And many times they maybe don't even want to see a salesperson beyond, and how much is it going to be? Okay, great. I need to know for my budget, but this is the car I want. Type of a situation. And does that come into the DJ realm where there's customers who are like, okay, let's talk a little bit. Okay, Dan, yeah, like a couple of things that you've said, and it sounds good. Give me a price and I can do it, or if I can do it or not, whatever. But they want to make that decision without that meeting. When we get to that point and we're saying, and I know Cubby's a big fan of the meetings. That's almost a requirement for him. Are we causing more problems, or are we chasing people away by that being a big part of our process, where we're going to be getting a lot of information to them at that meeting? Or is that still a valid enough thing to keep it in the front and center?
I still think it needs to be there. I do. Like, I've gone away from it for the longest time, where I've gone away from the meeting. Like, if they want one, sure, let's do it. Let's
Mm-hmm.
have a meeting. And my follow-up emails and stuff, I'll talk about, like, hey, let's get together and have a meeting. But when I'm having some of those initial conversations back and forth and things like that, I don't push for the meeting too often. Because I was trying to reduce the friction on it. I was trying to make
Mm-hmm.
it so that it was easier for them to just, like, let me have this conversation via email. Like, let's not worry about trying to get together and talk and everything else. Because some couples will view that as a sales meeting, as it is, but they'll view it very much like the used car salesman, right?
Sure.
Like, you're going to lock the door and you're not going to let me
Yeah,
out
you're
of
going to hard sell
your
me once
site
you're going to sell me everything.
until I make you overpay for my service, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's sometimes the fear that they have. So looking for a way to kind of prevent that, looking for a way to kind of to make it easier. But I think it's important because, and the way that I word it with my couples when I do get to the point of, hey, let's have that sit down, let's have that meeting, is like, you're investing a lot in me. I recognize that. Like, I recognize that I'm not cheap, and I recognize that you need to be comfortable working with me that day because we're going to be together a while. So let's have a conversation to make sure that that fits for you, to make sure that you like what you hear. And that typically, at that point in the conversation, seems relevant to them.
Sure.
They feel more comfortable at that, because I'm not talking about, hey, let's get together so I can show you all the different things that I have. Let's
Mm-hmm.
not get together so I can grill you about all the things that you need to bring to your wedding. Like, let's get together and let's just chat and see, tell me about your story. Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you envision, and see if we're a good fit. See if we feel like we would be good to work together. And that helps with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think the meeting, again, not every couple is going to be like this, but I do think the meeting is an important piece to establishing the trust between the two parties. Um, my couples that I haven't met with, and then we've kind of chatted different times through email. We get that in a different manner, but it also feels different because then when we finally do have our planning meeting and we are face to face for the first time, it's like, oh, it's great to put a face to the name and the conversations we've been having.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a weird thing sometimes to say it that way. But that's, again, for some couples, that's kind of what they want until that point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think, yeah, as you mentioned earlier, it can vary so much. Generalizing can be very, very difficult in this realm because of the different experiences. This spring, I've had opportunity to talk to 3 photographers that have worked our events, and the thing that we have noticed with the weddings this spring has been the lack of planning. I mean, this is the date. Here's the church. We're gonna have the party here, and then much of the details, the kind of things that we like to have. The exact time of the ceremony. Well, we knew that they set that about a month ago. The actual itinerary of what's going to happen was set 3 days before the wedding in one particular case. And this is from the photographers who many a times when I'm talking to the bride and we're talking about planning the different activities, and they're like, "Oh, the photographer's got a timeline, and would you like me to get that to you?" And it's like, I'm not going to ask you to read that. We're going to do a timeline on top of the photographers. Let's just go and see what they have, and then if we'll work with it. But the photographers aren't getting their information and their different things and answers in many ways until the 11th hour themselves. And it makes me wonder, is that going back to those planning meetings or even those pre-sales meetings, well, what is your vision? Well, we want to get married on June 14th. Okay, great. And what's your theme? Oh, we haven't thought about that. Okay, anything you've seen at weddings that you've really enjoyed? Oh, we just want to get married. That they're getting these answers because they want to do it, but all these other little nuances are just overwhelming to them. So we ignore them.
And I agree, and I think there's also ways to ask. And I know at that point you weren't like going through your sales pitch of what you might ask them verbatim, but one of the things that I start out with my conversation is, tell me how you guys met. Tell me how the proposal went. And I even tell them, I'm like, listen, I like stories. I like to hear, those pieces of what made you two come together.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right. And then I ask, and I don't know where I got this. Maybe it was a Mitch Taylor thing or something like that. But it was like, if you could read a review of your own wedding, and I even tell them like ahead of time, like, because it's going to sound like a strange question, but I need to ask it and just kind of go with it. If you could read a review of your own wedding, what would you want it to say? And when I ask those kind of questions, they stop thinking about what they want, and they start thinking of actually the picture of what happens that day.
Sure.
Because then they say it's like, well, we want our friends to have a good time. We want them to talk about the dance floor and how great it was all night. And that kind of thing right there tells me that even if the two of them don't value dancing, they value their friends dancing. And so I start looking for ways to ask the question that doesn't ask the question, but gives me the answer.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do that, it really opens the door to get the information that I need. I don't need to know their theme, right? I don't need to know. As much as I want them to tell me, like, one of the things I stopped asking for the longest time was about potential add-ons. Unless they brought it up, I didn't even worry about it. I'm like,
Sure.
you want to have me for your day? Done. Let's talk about all the other stuff and we can add that on later if that's the case. But I don't need to know if you want the photo booth or if you want uplighting or whatever is the case. I just need to know you want to have me for your wedding. And so again, taking out some of those things that, do they really matter to if you're going to take it or not?
Mm-hmm.
And getting to the nitty gritty all that. And again, even, we're talking in some aspects of being at the meeting when you do this, but if you kind of give them an indication going in that you're not going to ask a ton of questions, then they already have that trust that you're not going to corner them with a whole bunch of extra things in that meeting. Because the other thing I'll even do with when I do pose the idea of a meeting is I'll let them know, like, listen, this is like 15, 30 minutes. Unless you've got a lot of questions that you want to have answered, we're going to keep it relatively short.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps too, because then they're like, well,
You set
it's only
expectations.
that long.
Yeah.
Even if it's not good, it's not that bad. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that long of a time.
Yeah, and that setting that expectation ahead of time is definitely going to help them make that decision to say, yeah, you know what, I can do that. I can step up for the 15 minutes, which will end up being 45 minutes, but it could be 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. To do what they want and such. You mentioned
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't. We talk about the client having paralysis. I for some of us, I've been in that situation. So, for me, I research the heck out of stuff before I buy it. Mm-hmm. It drives my wife nuts. But I do it. And so I have a good understanding of where I'm going to be at a certain point. And I think a lot of our couples, because the information that's available to them, whether it's reviews, whether it's website, whether it's asking AI, whatever might be the case, they have a better understanding going in. And so sometimes one of the best questions you can ask is, listen, I know you've probably done some of your research. What don't you know about me? Mm-hmm. What is important for you to know about me? And ask them that, not right away, but pretty early on in some of those conversations. And that makes a big difference too, because then it's not you grilling them, it's allowing them to grill you.
Sure. You mentioned earlier emails, as far as you have a series of emails, follow-up emails, I think is how you had described it. And of course that in this day and age is that I think we've booked 3 fall weddings recently. And in each case, they reached out, they filled out a little bit of information to get that. And then they were basically ready to book and do their things without any face-to-face meeting. And in one case, she had seen me before, so she knows who I am. She wasn't even interested in a phone call type of it's like, hey, we should chat a little bit. She goes, no, I've seen you. I know you. We'll talk about it later. Where do I sign? That kind of a thing. But not everyone's like that. And you're going to need those kind of emails that is that touch and somewhat personal, but yet somewhat non-intrusive. How do you balance that part of it, where yet you're able to connect with them, but you're not overwhelming them?
I think the biggest way is to pretend that they asked you that over the phone, right? Like, pretend that you picked up the phone and you're talking to the couple, and they mention whatever it is that they asked you, right? How would you respond? How would you answer that question before you stop talking and allow them to talk next? Whatever that is that you were going to say, with the hopefully your personality of what you would say, use, put that in email.
So give me an example of that. What type of a question may you try to approach in that type of an email?
Well, one of the first things they always ask, is how much is it going to be? And my response to that, when they ask that is, you know what, I'd love to be able to answer that. I have some prices that I can definitely send you, but I need to know just an extra piece. I just need to know an extra piece, because usually they'll tell the date. They won't ask the venue. They won't say anything else. Where's your venue? And are you doing the ceremony with it? Are you doing the ceremony in the same spot? And usually I kind of keep it to about that short, maybe a little bit extra like funness to put in to make myself kind of sound somewhat nice in a quick email back. And I also do that for kind of another reason, is because sometimes what ends up happening is I'll respond and I'll get crickets on the other end. Mm-hmm. So I also don't want to type out a big response. I don't even want to copy and paste a big response if I have it saved somewhere else, if I'm never going to get anything from it. So I keep it kind of nice and short. I keep it nice and easy with just that simple response. Then they'll come back and they'll say, we're doing the ceremony there, and where, it's at, Joe's wedding shack. Awesome. Love Joe's Wedding Shack. Joe and I go way back. We worked together a bunch of times. Thank you so much. Hey, let's see this next piece. Let's talk a little bit about what you're doing. Here's the price, by the way. This is what we're looking at to make those things happen. And then usually after I present that piece of the price, I ask them another question that's again another easy type of question that really doesn't have anything to do about their wedding, but gives me some information. Again, they're not making any decisions about their wedding. Hey, do you and your fiance, do you like to dance? Or what's your favorite song to dance to?
But
What's your favorite type of music?
you're really following Alan Berg's when he's talked about it. I was kind of closing an email with a question, something that they feel that I can reply to that. Boom, reply, answer.
And that tells me something, right? Like they're not having to make a decision like about their wedding. They're just having a conversation with somebody. Now, I will say it has come back to bite me once or twice. I don't think it was necessarily a bad thing, but I did have one who, I've responded with that. And I think there was like one other one before, and then I was like, okay, now I feel comfortable enough. Maybe I'll ask for that sales meeting, right? Like I don't want to jump right to it, but I want to give myself a little bit of time. And by that next one, they're like, hey, we made our decision. Thanks. Bye.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I was like, I didn't get a chance to ask if you want to do the meeting or if you want to book with me. So like some of them in that situation, there was a couple that was looking to make a decision much faster than what I was doing. And they found that, or they found somebody that gave them the price and they just said, done.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it was other than that the effect they had made their decision and moved on. But yeah, so when I ask those initial questions, also if I don't, so I have the auto drip email set up through DJEP, so that way once, if I need to, I can turn it on. I wait. Usually, I had that first conversation. I do everything by hand. I see if they respond to that quick question. If I don't hear anything in like 2 or 3 days, I turn on the automation, and I just let it drop every so often with that email quick. Hey, by the way, and those become not quite salesy, but a little bit more like, hey, like let's chat.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get together and like let's move this into a conversation so it can happen a little faster. And kind of took Cubby's word. I don't know if it was the wording or his suggestion one time for how to, like, listen, we can do this back and forth, or we can make it a lot quicker on a phone call.
Sure.
And that's the way a couple of those emails are set up, just to kind of hopefully break that. Oh, we're just not going to talk to you. And it worked. It was the fifth follow-up, and she emailed me yesterday saying, yep, let's do a Zoom. Here are some dates that I'm available.
Wow.
Awesome.
Fifth follow-up. That's out there quite a
I had
ways.
written it off. I really
no
had.
kidding.
Now it wasn't a pure cold. Like this wasn't somebody who found me on Google, right? And I think that's the other thing that becomes important is I'll be honest, I hate tracking data. I
Mm-hmm.
might be a math guy, but I hate data. But tracking the couples that you're getting from the vendors you're getting and how quick they might want to go into a process. So this was somebody who came from a vendor referral, came from the venue referral. So I already knew that this was a solid lead, right? This is one of those venues who has like 4 DJs on their list, and that's about all that they send out. So I knew I was in a good position kind of to start with. But then when I kind of got ghosted, I was like, or thought I was ghosted, I was like, well, let's turn this on and see what happens. And yeah, it was like, and I already knew it was the fifth one because when they hit reply to the email, like the heading, it corresponded with what the heading of the fifth one was, and I was like, okay. Like,
when the fifth one would have been sent to them, how much of a time gap was between approximately? Was it a day, 2 days, a week between when they received it and they replied?
I'd have to double check because it's been so long since I kind of set them up. Like I've tweaked the wording and stuff like that, but I forget
just in this particular case, as far as when she got the email, how long do you think it took before she clicked reply and sent it back to you?
Oh, from when that was sent to when she clicked reply?
Yep.
Oh,
because I have a theory.
That particular one was sent out Saturday morning. She replied to it Sunday morning.
Okay. So it could have been basically the next time she was clearing emails. Very possible.
Potentially. Yes.
Yeah, potentially it could have been. And that's kind of one of the areas I was wanting to hit is I think that there's when people are in the mood, when it comes to booking, talking to vendors and what have you, and that's one of the reasons why in many cases I'm trying to encourage them to text message or more of a direct message right away at almost any hour of the day, because if it's overnight, I'm not going to reply. But then I can get back to them in some cases within minutes of, I get someone who's like, hey, John, are you available for this date? And I can be, during the day, I might be back to them within 15 seconds, 20 seconds. If they're in the mood to have that conversation and they're inquiring, yeah, I literally picked up a show here that for this summer that happened because I was right there and could answer the questions, ask a couple of questions, and it's like, yep. And they're like, cool, let's book it. Because they were in the mood right then, right there they were ready to buy. As that probably similar to what that couple was that you talked about that has said, yeah, we went a different direction. Is that something that's been around for a while, or is that idea that we have people who are just, they're in the mood, they're ready to go, and they may take it from beginning to purchase within minutes?
I think there are some because they've done all the research, right? They've dug it in, they've looked at what it has, and they've gotten an understanding of what they want for their wedding. As far as like the quality, we'll say the quality of the person, right? Maybe,
Mm-hmm.
by searching, that's something hopefully you should be able to pick up pretty easily. So I think there is that. I also think though there's kind of a difference in the way that they reach out to you, how quickly they're wanting to respond, how quickly they want a response, right? There's this attitude, and I've noticed it even in my own personal life, like not related to my business at all, where if there's a text going back and forth, there's the expectation that the text is going to be pretty immediate in a response.
Mm-hmm.
Because like when I've sent somebody a text different times, they're like, I can't get back to you right now, I'll text you later. And I'm like, so my response was, that's fine. I just sent it so you'd have it for when you're ready. But I think the idea is that if they get a text, they're expecting a text right away.
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, I don't want that in my business. There are times where I'm doing personal things with my kids. There are times where I'm, going out for a run. There's times where I'm working my day job. Like I don't have the opportunity to respond to a text right away.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've noticed sometimes is if I don't respond right away, like if I read it because I'm like, oh, what came in? Oh, I read it. Then I misplace it. Right? Like
yep. Yeah. It's no longer showing up. Is it?
And I forget to do it as quick as I should, especially depending upon what I'm doing at the time that it actually comes in. Whereas I think if somebody fills out a form, it's a little bit different, right? They're expecting a response maybe the next business day. Is sometimes the case, because I will say, like when that comes in, I get a notification that it's coming in, and if I'm not doing something with my family, then I can respond, right? And I do that response, and sometimes the feedback I'll get right away from, wow, that was a quick response. It's like, well, yeah, thanks, but that I saw it come in, and I kind of also kind of laugh, and I'm like, I'm not always that quick,
Mm-hmm.
like just so that they recognize that if they email me at 3:00 in the morning, I'm not going to respond like that. But for me, there's a boundary that I don't want. Like I have no problem with a client who books me to send me a text message, because that's a little different. But when it's a potential client coming in, I'm like, I'll respond quick, but let's hold off on the text messaging unless you need to. But I will also say this: on my website, with my number, call or text.
Mm-hmm.
They still fill out the form.
That's interesting, because that yes, people will fill out the form after they've talked to me, and then it's like, hey, have you gone? Did you get a chance to fill out the form yet? No, we saw it, but we didn't fill it out. We just decided we were going to call, or text it and call, or straight text. It's interesting. I probably the last half a dozen have all been, I sent them the link and say, okay, here's the link. Please fill it out. Yeah, we saw the form. Okay. Who knows?
Yeah, that's interesting, because obviously they're on your site, like
Mm-hmm.
they're that's where they found you. It's not, it's not like you were given a card out and they contacted you without grabbing that website information. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's a regional. This is where we need Cubby on here. Come on, Cubby.
Yeah.
Hide the tutu and come join us.
Come on. Yep. And make sure you hike it up a little bit so that way.
No, don't hike it up.
Oh wait, no, that's bad. That's bad. Yeah, the crowd doesn't want to get their money's worth that way.
Yeah.
So and looking at that Michael, he's been doing some of his own booking with his show, and he doesn't have a website, doesn't use anything for contact like that, because they're going to Instagram and direct messaging him on Instagram, and that's how their conversation starts. If not, it goes most of the way. And that's so foreign to me that whole concept of being able to line things up and getting things back and forth, and not you don't need a website, okay. But
and for a lot of people, they don't. Like I remember, I don't know if that's changed for Rachel, but there for a while, I remember Rachel, Lynch touting the fact that she didn't have a website and everything was done through either social media or otherwise. And great. I think I don't think they're used to the extent that they were at one point.
Certainly.
Yeah. There's still that search engine optimization for a reason. There's still that, AI and, engine optimization for a reason that will hit the websites. And so I think there's benefits, but you can still have your contact be straight through your socials. Like that's.
Yeah. And that's, it's there because the boys have been booking shows and off they go. So it does work, but it's also for a different audience than most of my clients. Most of my clients are, over 25, and the events that they've been doing have been people who are under 22, whether it's been high schools that have been reaching out to book them, or even younger couples. Just a different time.
I wonder if that will be our trend. Like that's something that's interesting you mentioned with the ages. If that was something that a little bit later, 10 years down the road, we'll say when that couple might be getting married, or that person might be getting married, would they still conduct business the same way? Or will they progress or adjust? We'll say adjust, not progress. Adjust to doing it in a different fashion because it's for a different style. It's for a different reason.
And in 2 point, I would almost have to say, if they do adjust, it's going to have to be something that is taught to them, because most of their purchases that they're making now are a Shein purchase, or an Amazon purchase, or a Temu type purchase, where it's the buy, and in some cases, if you don't like it, send it back, type of a thing, or it's cheap enough where you just buy the next one and donate it or throw it away, whatever. We're in that instant gratification type world with the quick purchases. And how will that fit into that picture of that younger generation? Because they're not learning how to negotiate. I've got, I want that knife here. I've got 3 chickens and a goat. Can I trade you those for the knife? That type of world is foreign to us, but we know it exists. They will not have an understanding of what the barter world is, or the more face-to-face selling world, because they've never done it.
But even just the idea of like sending like my son doesn't send emails. Like that was interesting. Like he's doing something for his scouting, for his Eagle project, and he needed to reach out to somebody from council and needed to send them an email. And I was like, you need to do it this way, and you need to include your dad on it, right? Like and do those type of things. And that was a foreign piece to him. Yeah. He was able to navigate it because he wasn't too far removed in the idea. But it is, you're right. There is that social media piece, but it's still that idea of sending them a message, right? It's still, whether it's a direct message through Instagram, whether it's, or Snapchat or whatever social media you want to put in, or, it's still that same piece. And I don't think we're ever going to get to the point of, having an app for our business and you one-click buy through what we have. I don't think it's definitely not before I retire. But it's not gonna get to that. And kind of in that same point, like there's still that there's still that appointment piece that happens. So just last week, we had the outside of our house washed,
Sure.
right? Like I have a pressure washer, but I was like, it's going to take me too much time. I'm going to hire somebody. Contacted the guy. The guy came up. The guy was in his early 20s, maybe mid 20s. Like he was young, younger than me for sure. But how he went about it was very much that personal one-on-one type of thing. So I think some of that is still there with some of those younger generations.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a matter of it's got to be for the right reason, right? Like I don't have to see what it is to be able to buy it off of Amazon. I'll trust what's in the picture. I'll trust some reviews. I may not need to have a full sit down with the DJ for my wedding, but I'm going to research the heck out of it, or I'm going to ask a couple questions and then I'm going to buy. So I still think some of that's going to be in place, even as some of that younger generation becomes our buying generation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it might change. It might evolve
As
as it pretty much does, from the beginning, from years ago when we would.
If only we had our crystal balls.
Yeah, yeah. I keep thinking whenever we get into discussions like this, whether it's this topic or any number of DJ topics, it takes me back to that 2015 where Drax and I did the very first show where we discussed looking ahead into the future, and 15, 16 of the computers being good enough to be able to read the floor and do the things, and it's like, oh, that'll never happen. We had people in the chat room say that, and 10 years later, it is possible today. And as you made the statement that, not during my career. Sometimes we can't make such grandiose statements because in 3 years it could be a completely different experience, and we could all be have the click to buy type of a world. You just don't know.
Oh, I'm not saying technology wouldn't exist for that piece. I
You're
think
you one yelling, "Stay off my yard, my grass."
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Stay off of my robotic lawn grass.
My robot will come and it'll throw you off. So yeah, it'll be an interesting thing. I think that paralysis definitely. I could see that with a couple of my weddings that I did this spring. It was a huge factor in their planning process, and you could feel that when we were 3 to 4 weeks out, even that that they were working with me. They were working with a couple of others, the venue and the photographer, and you could feel their anxiety with that just in the few little quick conversations I had. And it was one of those, in my situation, it was easier for me to back off knowing that I have a pretty good idea of what they're wanting to do and I have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen. It's just final little details and little nuances here, timings and things. And I can get that later. I didn't need to be one more to add on to that because you could feel that stress level. And it gets to another aspect, which we won't get into, but many of the younger generation, they have a different stress level or different stressors than what we had growing up and what our parents had with growing up. And sometimes they don't handle, we had a different stressful situations, and some of those different situations might have prepared us more to handle some of the planning, as an example, some of those anxieties, where today's youth coming up into the wedding world may not have had the experiences that would help them be prepared for that. So now they're going into an area of stress and anxiety that's completely new and foreign to them, which means that we just have to find ways to work with that and to help them to have that successful event.
This could be one of the reasons also. I mean, I know we were talking more from the sales side, but also from the planning for our event side, where again, I'm a big proponent of trying to do that initial planning meeting 2 months in advance, because you're right. If they're trying to make a bunch of decisions the month of,
that's tough.
They're gonna get into lockdown, and but I will also say, like, I really had to pull teeth for my past 2 weddings. I really had to pull teeth to get information from them for the planning purpose.
Sure.
Right. Like the one couple, we had our meeting 2 months in advance, but it was like, well, I don't know. Do you have any suggestions?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Like here's a list of stuff. Here's a Spotify link so you can listen to the stuff. Like I had all that ready to go, sent it to him. Oh, these are great. We'll get back to you. And it was like getting closer. And it was like, by the way, I still don't have that. Right. Like I still don't have it. And so it was just like, it kept getting closer and closer and closer. And finally, like I'm like, the portal is going to lock you out. Like the portal closes tonight.
There's a reason
So
for that. Yes.
you need to get in there and you need to tell me what it is, or I need to have it tomorrow by email, not the portal. And I need to, and when I put that to it, then I got it, right? Then I got the information. But others, and it's typically not been the case, 2 months in advance. Yeah, they may not know everything, but usually I get it within like a week or two at most.
Sure.
But this year, especially the last two, it was like, ooh, okay. And the one I blamed because it was another DJ's daughter. Like I felt that was probably the reason why everything was last minute. Because it was his daughter that was doing it, but it was interesting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting as we go forward on how if this is just a spring anomaly, or if this is a new regular, or how. And
I would say, like, there's not been commonality among the ages. Like, you know what I mean? That you would think of sometimes when I think about, like you said, as far as the spring ones, when I do look at my spring ones, I'm like, oh, but then I started looking at when I started thinking about the ages that they were, one was not old, but, was in their 30s. The other one was in their 20s. So they were kind of, spread out a little bit. So I wouldn't chalk it up to just, a pure generational type of thing. But yeah, and sometimes there's always, different pieces, I think, that weigh into what's important. Like I will also say, like my bride from this weekend has a new one on the way already. So she was also, I'm sure, dealing with some of those
yeah, she's got a lot
type
of things
of
on her
preparation
plate.
pieces.
Yeah, a lot of things on her plate. Cool. So after we're done here tonight, DJNTV.com/chill, you can pop out there and hang out with the crew. They should be in. The guys were recording the KJ show earlier this evening, and then I think from there they move over to the chill room. So DJNTV.com/chill. Tonight, tomorrow night are the 2 nights that it's busy, and Saturday nights. If you're finishing up at a gig and you've got to travel afterwards, pop out on your phone, DJNTV.com/chill, and just, because it's become this Saturday night hangout, and I think there were 25 people that I saw that were jumping in there from about 12:30 to about 3 in the morning. Was kind of when people were back and forth and in and out. So I don't know if there were more than 2 or 3 or 4 at a time, but I've done that myself coming back from shows, and it's kind of a neat thing to help keep a person awake a little bit. I just literally had my earbuds in, left the phone sitting on the seat off to the side. They don't need to have a camera of anything, but you can listen and talk and such. And it was kind of a neat way to catch up with some folks I hadn't had a chance to talk to for a while. So check that out. Nice. But yeah, Dan, take us home.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in and joining us, whether it was live or whether you're catching this on the recording. We greatly appreciate it. In case you haven't kind of figured, we're trying to get this back to doing a weekly thing. So make plans to join us on Monday night. We'd love to have you. Have yourself a great night. Be careful. And by the way, real quick here to all the dads, happy early Father's Day.
Coming up on Saturday. Everybody.